After that opening segment of extremely intelligent review on hot sports topics, we are back. The one-on-one segment brought to you today by UPMC. We're going one-on-one. UPMC goes one-on-one with everybody all the time in Western Pennsylvania in health and medical awareness. But we're joined by a good friend, former player, alumni partner, and guy that gets it dirty in the paint, David Freeman, who is a former player at Slippery Rock University. Dave, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Shenley for 2 years, and I finished my high school career at Vincentian Academy.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, Vincentian. And they've kind of fallen off the map that they had built for a minute, right?
Well, interestingly enough, they had I graduated high school in '98, so it's been quite some time. But they had a couple really good years after that, kind of gullied a little bit. Then they had some pretty solid years. Vincentian, unfortunately, is closed now. They closed, they closed in the COVID year, and you know when you look back, my heart breaks for not just the seniors at Vincentian, but any senior athlete that had to essentially have their season eliminated because they were pacing to make a run for a state championship, and obviously that never materialized. So.
You went on to Slippery Rock, where I went 100 years ago, and I jokingly tell people when I went to Slippery Rock, it was just called the Rock. I helped make it slippery, so it's been slippery ever since. And that's a whole different subject matter. Kind of a weekend thing. You're still too young to hear that stuff. But look, when you went to the Rock, talk about your time there and playing there and how it felt. And of course, you were there after Myron.
Correct.
So you had some good footsteps to follow and some things to work up to.
So first and foremost, anyone who went to Slippery Rock or has ever been there, shout out to Bob Subs. I haven't had a Bob Subs in several years. Hopefully you remember Bob's as well.
No, when I went to Slippery Rock in 1970, we had a pizza shop and a hot dog shop. And the good news was you could take your pick. That was it. You know, so that was it. That was coming out of the good old days were limited, to be sure.
Love it. Well, you know, my experience at Slippery Rock was really cool. For a lot of different reasons. Number one, it was the first year that they had actually gotten scholarship money back. So it was very special to me that I was one of their most highly recruited players coming out of high school to rebuild the program. So I found a lot of respect and pride in that fact. The challenging piece to that is when you're rebuilding a program, your first year is you rebuilding a program. So a lot of lessons learned in that first year about commitment, sacrifice, dedication. I remember my first 5 a.m. workout like it was yesterday because it was a nightmare. Running at the football field and looking at one of my teammates saying, I didn't think this college thing would be like this, man. I thought they're just going to roll the balls out and we played.
Now, you're a basketball player, I'm a football player. Remember the countryside on the other side of where the new stadium is, and you had to run way out and run way back.
Yeah, the canvas ground.
And you know, it seemed like you was never going to make it back. Getting out was one thing, but getting back was another. But and I wanted to make sure I said to the listeners when I said Myron, we're talking about Myron Brown, the great Hall of Famer from Slippery Rock, who's still the all-time leading scorer. You were under Hankinson or Zimmerman?
I was under. I actually had two coaches at the Rock. So it was Coach Jones and Coach Marhefka was there. So Coach Jones was relieved of his duties.
That was after Doug Zimmerman.
Yeah, correct.
So great college career, good run?
Yeah, we had a good run. You know, my sophomore year, we made it to the PSAC championship. Unfortunately, we lost to another state school. I'm not going to mention their name.
Clarence. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't want to mention the name.
Indiana University.
But here's the thing about that. Slippery Rock, Clarion, and Cal State had some legit basketball programs.
Absolutely.
In the 70s and in the 80s and 90s, but in the 70s, you know, Slippery Rock was nationally recognized. And the damage that Myron did, Myron was averaging 40 points a game at Slippery Rock. And so there was some great tradition. You know, some people think mostly of Slippery Rock about football, but great football runs up there. Basketball.
They had some really good runs. There's a lot of names on the Hall of Fame walls up there. I still actually talk to Myron's point guard, a guy by the name of C. Russell, who is he's just a great dude. And I'll share this story. I remember my freshman year, I was having some trouble, right? So, coach called me into the office and we're talking through, dedication, why you're here, can't be defiant, you gotta be a leader. And he actually called C. Russell. I hope he hears this podcast, but he actually called him and talked me down. He literally said, when you put on that green jersey, you're repping something greater than just you, and it was just really cool to hear, because obviously the program wasn't at its most illustrious point whenever I got there, but it was really good to hear from somebody that was there when they were on the top of the PSAC, and the standard, as Coach Tom would say, the standard was the standard, and if you deviated, you weren't a part of it. So, that was a very impactful conversation.
And what some people tend to forget, and Bobby Franklin will echo this to be sure, having played at Point Park, sometimes you think Pitt, Michigan State, Illinois, USC, but Division II basketball is a serious matter. The Division II athletics is a serious matter. And let me offer this, because a lot of people don't know, I was a javelin thrower in high school and college. I actually held the javelin record at Penn Hills High School for 5 days. At the next meet, somebody took my record. I held the meet, I held the record, I got the record on Saturday. The next Saturday it was gone. But, that competition at that level is keen, and Bobby Franklin, once again, will attest to the fact that's a step away. Myron Brown being drafted out of Slippery Rock in the second round to go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, that's a big deal. Scottie Pippen out of a Division II school, so all those things matter. But so you come out to Rock, you have a great run. We'll talk about what you did down on Keister Road after the show. But
we won't.
If you know Keister Road, you get it. If you don't know Keister Road, you don't get it. But I remember you playing in the Connie Hawkins League. You were intense, to say the least, but you were polished. And I remember you thinking, for some reason, that you may not be worthy of Hall of Fame induction into the Connie Hawkins League. You were most worthy, one of the all-time great defenders, and one of the most prolific players that the game had at a time when we played at Penley Park, when it was the greatest show on concrete, to be sure. So just remembering those days, what comes to your mind?
So joking, not joking, we used to get free cheeseburgers if we won.
That's exactly what
So I remember we're like, I need dinner, dog. Let's go. We down 6.
But no, the certificate was free cheeseburger and fries, but you had to buy the drink.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so that was McDonald's. Our friends at McDonald's down at Penley Park.
But you want to talk about playing in an era, and we're talking the late 90s, early 2000s, of where there was a lot of separation in our neighborhoods, right? I mean, you had the gang activity, and you just had, dudes that just were proud of where they were from, and sometimes they couldn't express that without it getting physical. So the placement of the Connie Hawkins League in East Liberty, every night during the summer, you had a place to go. You could watch some serious dudes play ball, and there really were no issues. Like, I don't remember any significant problems, so I think, that was one of the main things, appreciating how sports can transcend a lot of what's going on in the community, right? So that's one of the major things. The other thing is just the amount of talent. Like, I had guys that were up at the top with me that didn't go home. They needed a place to play. So we put them on a team. They come down, and we're playing with all the D1 guys from Pittsburgh that came home, and the guys at Pitt and all the other places. And
Sam Clancy Jr., Ricky Greer, yeah. Warren Wilson.
We even had
Drew Bay.
You remember the guest appearance of one white chocolate, Jason Williams.
Jason Williams lit up the joint.
Man.
Let me recount that. So we're setting up, as we always do, at 6 o'clock for a 6:30 first game. First game usually a small showing to people, usually about 100 people or so for the 6:30 game. And our league director Mike Nichols says to me, he says, Jason Williams is down there. And we were at the scores table, and I'm looking for 6'9" Jason Williams to play with the Celtics that had gotten into trouble, during that time period. And Mike had been known to take a sip or two, so I don't know, maybe. But I look, and I said, Mike, Jason Williams, they down there. He said, no, white chocolate. White chocolate was at the other end of the court, hat turned around backwards, low key as he could be, came out with Rico Apidanza, jump ball. Rico tips the ball to Chocolate. He throws a behind the back pass full court to Pete Sauer, who played at Stanford for the first quarter. By halftime, there was 500 people in the park.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just off the chain.
With no cell phones.
With no cell phones.
People just knew. Right? I don't even know how they
No
knew.
cell phones.
People just knew. Our best in-game dunk I've ever seen. One Mr. Myron Brown throws it off the backboard to himself. Luckily, we're on the same team. But throws it off the backboard to himself and just dunked it so hard. And I just remember, and this is Myron was, mid-30s, he's kind of you think that's when you're slowing down, but he's and on concrete. Like I can imagine playing on concrete nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But
different world.
We just talked about it, I guess we were different back then.
Yeah,
I don't know.
different world to be sure. So fast forward to today, your professional career has been excellent to say the least. Give us a quick rundown on where you've been and where you're at.
I've been blessed. I came out of college in 03 and I went to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I was there for 12 years. So I cut my teeth in auto finance with Enterprise. And just made it a point to always be professional and do the right thing for clients. I had the opportunity to then take my skills to BMW in Shadyside, and I was there for 7 years. And I ran that finance department. Back in 2022, I made another change. Personal kind of conviction, had a coming to Christ moment as far as what I wanted my long-term career to be. I wanted to do something that impacted people, but it also was something that was mine. So I started my own financial planning practice, and I partnered with Northwestern Mutual. And one of the best professional decisions I've made for several different reasons. I got a lot more balance back. I got a lot more clarity as to how I want my career to end, and definitely have a clear vision of the people that I want to impart my products and services and knowledge to. So it's been great.
So for people that may have an interest in the service, the job, what's required, what it provides, can you give a phone number, email address? Can people reach out to you?
Absolutely. Email's easy. david.freeman@nm.com. That's N for North, M for Mutual.com. And that's typically the easiest way to get me. And just feel free to reach out. My social media, I'm actually in the process of, I didn't realize how inept I was until I tried to set up a business page, but that's in the works. But my personal business, or my personal Facebook and Instagram, or my name, David E. Freeman, easy to find. I got on the burgundy suit, my favorite suit of all time. And I love talking to people, teaching them about ways to achieve financial goals.
You missed it. You could have said greatness. It was right there for you. It was right there for you. It was right there. Go ahead.
I blew the layup.
That's right.
But it is one of those things where there is a very disproportionate dissemination of information on financial literacy, and I think it's exceedingly important that people that want to learn more and do better financially have a resource. And I'm happy to be that. So please feel free to reach out.
What he just said was, if you want to get rich quick, call David Freeman. That's what I got from it. I don't know what y'all got from it. David, we want to thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you. Congratulations on all your success. And we look to establish a great partnership with you and your company.
I appreciate it, and thank you.
All right, we'll be right back in another moment. Don't go away. And this time, we're not going to go dead. We're going to stay live as Dave eases out to sea and Renee Giles eases in. Watch how we do this professionally, without sliding chairs, in slow motion, while I continue to talk and distract the viewers so they don't realize that a change is going on, because when we shut down the live circuit, it makes it difficult to restart, and we're back.
Hello.
You see why they pay me the big money.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. We're enjoying it. It should be on. We sound man, we need a new microphone, please. if we can pull you away from the bar for just a minute. But while that's coming, we are joined by Renee Giles, RJG Production. Consulting, my bad. But while we look for this new microphone, see how smoothly we do that? And now, thank you, Mr. DJ. Is that better? You're talk into it, talk down to it, you're good. That one's not, let me see, we're not working. Test 1, 2. Excuse me, sound man, can we get one that works? That's the objective. We gotta see what we'll have to do is increase his pay, because apparently, maybe you don't pay him. Yeah, if you don't pay him, they don't provide the service that way.
Mine first.
I'm sorry?
I said mine first.
Everybody's in line. So while we're waiting for another microphone, we are joined by Renee Giles,
Thank you.
Consulting. And Renee's here for just a couple minutes to just explain a couple things. First of all, longtime friend, lifelong friend, and has the best hats in town, everybody knows that, and has been a part of the Pittsburgh scene for many years. So just a quick background on you, and you've been just retired from where and what?
I just retired from working for the president judge of Allegheny Courts as her executive assistant.
And now in retirement, you're just now
Well, I
starting to have
thought
some
I was
fun.
retired, but the very day that I stopped working, I got a phone call and asked to host an event at the Lamont. And I agreed, because I usually do things and I try to stay in the background, because I get more work done if I'm in the background getting things done. But I agreed to do this event, and it humbled me. It sold out in 5 days. And then it was requested that we do another one. And in between there, Bill asked me to do his.
Well, no, let's stay with that. So you and
Yes.
company have managed to secure Lamont Restaurant
Lamont Restaurant.
on Mount Washington, a lifetime historic location.
Yeah.
That's impressive in and of itself, to secure that facility for reasons that we won't offer beyond the obvious. So one successful event, another one coming up.
Another one, it's this Saturday.
Saturday, March
That one sold
30th.
out in 2 weeks, it's the 30th. Yes.
Cool. All right, so the company is off and running. And now let me introduce what you're going to be in full control of. So for those who don't know by now, we're in our 50th year of dedicated community service. First Champion Association and the start of the Connie Hawkins Summer Basketball League, and now Achieving Greatness. So collectively 50 years of dedicated community service. So we'll be hosting our full 50-year anniversary black tie formal affair Saturday, October 5th at the Marriott Hotel, Center City, downtown Pittsburgh. Black tie formal, off the chart. And Lamont Rucker, the famous actor of the Tyler Perry series of movies and TVs, will be one of the guest stars, and we have several other guest stars coming.
Yes.
So,
Very excited. I'm so excited that you asked me. Like I said, a lot has been happening since I retired, and this has humbled me. I hope a lot of people come so that we can take care of them, and that they see all the work that Bill Neal has done with Champions and now Achieving Greatness, and all the people the children, the stars, people that he's helped. So we want you to come out and support this event and support everything that Achieving Greatness has done.
we want them to come whether they like me or not.
It doesn't matter
Yeah,
if they like
I don't care if you like me, just buy a
it.
ticket.
Let's even buy a
But-
ticket. Come enjoy yourself and do something right.
So here's how it's going to roll. There's a VVIP section that will be headed by a major superstar at each table. So the likes of Dwayne Woodruff, Lamont Rucker, Chanel Smith, Jennifer Bruce, so on and on and on. And then tickets are at $150.
Yes.
And then there's a VIP section for those local establishments like the Corvette Club and Dennis Briggs Transportation and those kind of
It's
entities.
very important.
Very important people. Those are $125 a ticket, and then the general folks, if you will, the mainstay body of the operation, those are $100 seats. What we need to find out is Dr. Karen Hall going to sponsor one of the tables? You know what? I probably shouldn't have put that out there without checking with her first. That might be too much to put out there. Now that the universe has heard it, maybe she'll be sponsoring one of the tables. And then we want to find out if Sam McGill is going to go get that tux and show up at the event, because this is gonna be something special.
We want to have so many people wanting to sponsor that we have to say, you're on the sponsor list.
Well, it's all to be considered. So coming up, Saturday, October 5th, but your event is Saturday, March 30th,
That's right.
at Lamont. Tickets still available by chance?
No, it's sold out.
Sold out again, so too bad. Well,
Not too
it
bad.
is too bad. On the outside looking in, they can be dancing in the street if they want. We want to thank Renee Giles for showing up today. RJG
Consulting.
Consulting Group. Y'all give her a nice hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're not shut down because you can get up very, like, moving slow motion and pretend like this is not a transition, because Rico said we can't shut the live vibe off while Bobby Franklin slides into the hot seat so we can go one-on-one. Do you all understand the verbiage going on here, one-on-one, Sam? It's like me, it's a basketball analogy, it's like one-on-one. And then the other, with triple threats, so it's 1, 2, 3. Just wanted if you're keeping up. So we're now joined by Bobby Franklin, one of my all-time favorite cats. So I'm gonna let Bobby tell you about from where he originates in Ohio and the specifics of his high school to college transition.
Okay, I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay,
Grew up
that's
on,
enough that we can.
hey, grew up on Low Scoville, Huff.
Are you a Browns fan? I never asked you this.
I was born a Browns fan.
Oh my.
For many years, went to see Jim Brown, Leroy Kelly, Gary Collins. I mean, and they were
Paul
Wolford. They were an exceptional football team. Now, that was before the reintroduction of the NFL, and they started this new Super Bowl thing. But before that process got into effect, the Browns was the yardstick.
You're right.
In the NFL football. So I grew up there, went to John F. Kennedy High School, lived in an area where my travels went from my home to the neighborhood playground. That was basically the entire area of my life. Never went on a trip out of town, never had family to visit in another state. Lived from my house to the playground. In the playground, we must have had 150, 200 young men. We spent our time there from the time we woke up in the morning until when we were young, when your mother said you had to be home by the time the street lights go off. We spent our time in the playground. And basically with all of these young men, we competed at everything. We didn't play not one event. We competed. And that was baseball, football, basketball, shooting dice, horseshoes, playing cards, being whist, whatever it was, we competed. Happened to build they happened to build a new junior high school in my neighborhood, right around the corner from my house. And they funneled all of us young boys into that junior high school as 7th graders. And I never found out until 5 years ago that we had a co-ed junior high school. Because my 3 years spent in junior high school was spent in the confines of a basement at this junior high school. Someone in 1966 had decided that they had selected young boys coming out of an elementary school raised by a single parent, which was a mother, and decided to designate us as potential losers in society and put us all in the basement. The only time we left the basement in junior high school was to take our core courses and to eat lunch. Never knew that we had co-ed rooms in junior high school.
Seems like that would be against the law.
Once I grabbed hold and truly understood the environment that we were put in, I made calls and I was hoping that the school would still be established. But now what they've done is torn down a lot of schools and combined elementary and junior high schools together, or elementary, junior high, and high schools together.
All right, now moving through high school as a basketball player.
As a basketball player in high school, started playing, moved from the playground, had a close friend that saw me play in the playground and said, you have talent, you should come out. Happened to go out for the team, try out for the team, and took his job. He had to move on to another place, so I went in at the number one, the point guard position. High school, played extremely well, played with a group of talented young boys. Our high school team was picked selected number one preseason team in the state of Ohio. We were going up against a team that had won back-to-back state champions, and they were like Shenley and Fifth Avenue here in Pittsburgh. But we were picked number one, they were picked number two. We had a game in high school at East Tech. They had built a new school, 4,000 seats. Get to school on that Friday morning. We both undefeated 8-0. And we played on Channel 25 on TV on Friday nights in Cleveland. And for that game, we didn't make the sports section. We were put on the front page of the Cleveland Plain Dealer and the Cleveland Press as the game of the century. And they had, East Tech High School had the player of the year in Lawrence Bowden, who ultimately went on to be a starting point guard as a freshman at Ohio State University. Coach calls me in the office and says, Bobby, he says, we had 6'9", 6'9", 6'8" on our front line, so we played inside-out basketball. He says, this is an opportunity. I want you to show your talent. Don't worry about playing the assist game. Lawrence Bowden is averaging 30 points a game. We need you to go out and play as if you're in the playground. He says, you have a green light. So, of course, Bill, giving me a green light, that was the game. I went out and out. We get to school in Cleveland, it started snowing. It snowed 2 feet of snow that day. They canceled every event in the city except our basketball game at East Tech, at a new school there. We go to play, warming up, the ball rolls out in the alley, in the hallway. I follow it. I go out there, there's people 20 deep in the hallway out the school, and my cousin was there. He played at Central Catholic. He says, Bobby, he says, people were lined up for 6 blocks trying to get in, and you're the only game in town. Of course, that night, I dropped 30-something against the player of the year back-to-back, and that built my legacy in Cleveland. I mean, so then I can finish up my high school career. And
what I wanted to ask you was that, was the area you lived in anywhere near where LeBron came up?
No, Akron is a city about 20 minutes outside of Cleveland.
Okay.
So
you didn't have any relationship with anything that he's done?
Other than dating some girls from Akron, that was about it. So it's a fluke that I end up in Pittsburgh because I'm sitting at home watching cartoons, and I get a call from a team, a group of players that had formed a team that was going to a place called Sharon, Pennsylvania. They had the Hoyle basketball tournament. Back in 1973, we didn't have AAU, we didn't have all-star games. We played in the neighborhood. And that was basically the extent of our world. So initially when they called me and they said, Bobby, we got this team, we're going to a place called Sharon, Pennsylvania. And they said, well, we have our team, but the coach said last year that if you bring your shoes, you can sit up in the stands and maybe some player won't show up and you might get picked up. No, I'm not going. I mean, I deserve a spot, so why am I going without having a definite spot? So I'm sitting there with my younger brother, and he says, you know, we're only watching cartoons, call him back, let's go ride. And ultimately, I tell him to pick me up. We go up there, I'm sitting in the stands in Sharon, Pennsylvania, and the coach comes over and says, point guard from the Bronx couldn't make it. And I hear that you can play the one. Go out there, and we beat the team that won it the year before. We end up going to the semis. Coach Conboy from Point Park is there. He's recruiting a 6'10" guy, and the coach tells him, he says, hey, he says, that young man over there, I'm telling you, he has talent and there's something about him. You should talk to him. So he come over and introduced himself. He said, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Do you know where that is? No. Never left my neighborhood. He says, well, if I sent you a bus ticket, would you come? Of course, at that point, yeah. I never talked to the man again that summer. He called my mother every day, telling her that, you know, I want him to come up, I want to take a look at him in an environment with other college players. And so I get on the bus, come up, and we go out Friday night, end up in Braddock, where it was just like being at home. That's what sold me on Pittsburgh, going to Braddock. And so we get to Saturday and we're playing against the players, and after playing, he offers me a scholarship. And I says, all right, I'll come. And as I was telling the story earlier, back then they had junior high JV teams and varsity teams in college. He was putting me on the JV team, and I guess my abilities to play far exceeded the JV level. So I ultimately ended up starting as a freshman, and history was made after that.
So let me just, in the essence of this tape that we're limited to, you start your career in college at Point Park College, Point Park University. You become the all-time leading scorer at Point Park University, which is no small task to say the least. Some of the greatest players that ever came out of Western Pennsylvania attended that school that you've exceeded. And I remember, and I've said this numerous times, I remember talking to Norm Nixon because you and Norm Nixon and Kirk Bruce played on the same team in the Hawkins Summer Basketball League on a lopsided asphalt court behind the Homewood YMCA, yes, where Connie Hawkins himself played, along with Kenny Durrett and Will Graham and some of the all-time greats. And we used to say very unfortunately that with you and Kirk Bruce on the same team with Norm Nixon, one of the three of you was getting 40 that night. We don't know how the two are going to fare out. And you guys win the first ever Connie Hawkins League championship at that time. You go on to become a Connie Hawkins League Hall of Famer. What I want to ask you to say quickly before we get to the business end of this thing is the time that you spent when you were a great player. Now you've gotten old like the rest of us, but in your heyday, Norm Nixon said that you should have been in the NBA. No doubt about it in his mind. A few things, left or right, could have changed that. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, just think about the environment that.
And for those that don't know, Norm Nixon, LA Laker world champion.
Yeah, first round draft pick of the Lakers in 1977. Think about the institution that I started at Point Park. They hadn't been a playoff team. They were just average at best. So when I choose to go there in 1973, my first year, we take them at 19-6, and we go into the playoffs, which is back then it was District 18, which is the PSAC playoffs, and there was extreme amount of talent in that District 18. There was very little difference between Division II, small college, and major basketball, because the teams I played on in the summer leagues here and via the Connie Hawkins League, all of these guys was from top-notch programs, but my game was as good as any of them. And I got the opportunity to come in at the same time Norman did for Macon, Georgia in 1973. And I met him at the weekly sports banquets that they used to hold, where they take the players and to meet the media and talk to the sports. So I built a relationship with him. And then Norman and I competed against each other, played together up at Warrington, up at the Palumbo Center, up at Trees Hall. So we were both honing our skills in hopes to get into the next level. Now, I was in a school with 1,200 students, no gym, and we played our games, pre-games, to Duquesne and Pitt at Pacific Arena in most cases. And so it was a means of me getting the exposure in that way. But you take a school with 1,200 students, no gym, and the greatest accomplishment, Bill, is that in 1977, I was selected as a finalist for the Francis Palmer Naismith Award. I would end up being the runner-up for that award that year. And I'm talking about the best player in the country under 6 feet.
Yeah.
And this is coming out of an institution with 1,200 students with a basketball program with no gym. So it set the standards at Point Park. Once David was talking about it at Slippery Rock when he came in, the program wasn't at its height. Point Park was just starting. As I finished up my 4 years and accomplished things that I never thought was even possible on the basketball court, it built a reputation for the program and the school. I was also an athlete that dreaded the comment, we were all dumb. So I was a Dean's List student. I was an academic scholar in college, coming from an impoverished neighborhood with a single parent raising 8 children. So all this stuff came together, and as I finished, it was just remarkable. The career I had was just remarkable. But after I left, 78, 79, 80, 81, they started getting the best talent in the city of Pittsburgh. Sonny Lewis, Terry Peavy, Larry Gordon, Western Means. They had a team in 1979, 80, and 80, 81 was the best basketball team in the city of Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
Bar none.
Absolutely.
We saw them in the finals at the Connie Hawkins League.
Absolutely.
And I can't leave out the fact that, honed my skills at Point Park, but any kids growing up in the city back in the 60s and 70s understood that your game, you didn't get the reputation on your game playing organized ball in a controlled environment in high school and college. It was learned in the street game.
Street, absolutely.
And Connie Hawkins League offered up that venue for me to gain the reputation as a great basketball player in the city of Pittsburgh.
And that Terry Peavy team scrimmaged Pitt and beat them. And it got to be so scrappy up there one Saturday that Tim Gerger shut it down.
Yeah.
I mean, that was some serious stuff. But look, a career with Mattel Toys.
Right.
You retired from there. But before we run out of time, I want you to talk about your son very quickly. Inducted into the Plum Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
also a former great basketball player, and now operating a business. So let's get that in real quick.
Okay, my son played basketball. He was a soccer player originally and transitioned and found basketball. I hid all of my accolades in basketball from him because I did not want him to choose a sport just because his dad played. So he attended Shadyside Academy in his elementary and junior high school years. Happened to get a guy that came back from Apollo Ridge that watched me play in the Connie Hawkins League, was out in York, Pennsylvania, coaching, was coaching against Kobe Bryant. He gets the job at Plum. He comes back and finds out that I'm living in the Plum neighborhood, and they told him that I had a son. I told him, well, he's not a basketball player, he's a soccer player. But anybody that knows anything about soccer, it is an endurance sport, run. And that's basically what he did. So this kid comes back home to Coach Plum and took him up to the school, and he says, the apple hasn't fallen too far from the tree. I said, well, his love is soccer, not basketball. So he goes to Plum, and anybody knows anything about Plum High School, they were the easy win back in the day. But once we showed up, he ended up transitioning to basketball as an 8th grader, went to the junior high school in Plum, averaged 25 points a game his first season. And then his game just started to grow and grow and grow. He was a Street and Smith recipient, or as one of the top 100 players in the nation as a sophomore and junior. He goes to 5-star at Robert Morris, and during the Invitational Week with 800 kids from around the world. He ends up being selected as the most outstanding player. He goes to Adidas top camp in New York, and they win NBA titles in those, summer leagues that they had. He goes to Plum. He ends up being the all-time leading scorer. He's the first basketball player inducted into the Plum Hall of Fame. And then he moves on and go to Clarion.
That's remarkable. That's remarkable in any school.
Yeah, he goes to Clarion and wins 2 PSAC championships. I mean, this was a soccer player. I mean, the kid has turned out to be the all-time leading scorer in basketball. He wins a couple of PSACs. He has the opportunity to get paid, and here again, the injury bug bites him. And then it's about, I tell him all the time, it's about having the ability to pivot when things don't go exactly the way you want them to go.
Right.
And he pivoted from the basketball to the business acumen. He has a business degree from Clarion, and he started, this LLC, which was a JMB Investments, where he has a few apartment buildings and properties. And then he found his passion. I always told him, I worked for Mattel Toy Company for 38 years, and I told him the opportunities that I had in the 70s don't exist in the day-to-day. Everything is short-term. Companies only want employers for short-term. Employers are looking to jump from one job to another job. Listen to David talk about the transition to different jobs. I worked at one company, one job for 38 years of my life. And I've been down now out of it for 11 years and enjoying retirement. But he decided to get into, I told him to find his passion. His passion ultimately turned out to be cooking. And he started this company, Fresh Prep of Pittsburgh, and it's a prepared meal process for busy people, for athletes, for single parents that don't want to cook. They prep these healthy diet, calorie meals, and it was a hit. It started with guys in the gym asking them to cook for them, and then he evolved it into this business, and now he owns an establishment over at 6515 Salzburg Road in Penn Hills, and We're building up his business, and I told him, you find your passion and the finances will come. I've traveled a lot of places in my life. I know a lot of people that are financially well off, but are miserable. So find what you can enjoy waking up in the morning. If you never have to work for whatever you choose to do, you find a great life, and that's what he does.
So he's evolved from one Hall of Fame to another, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So look, we are always glad to have you. Greatly appreciate you stopping through tonight. And the history of Bobby Franklin continues in Bobby Franklin Jr.
Oh, of course.
And so what's the address of the new location, and is there an email or a website?
6515 Salzburg Road, and as a 70-year-old man, I gotta have notes to remind myself.
That's all right.
His website is Pittsburgh, and like I said, he's located at 6515 Salzburg Road, Penn Hills, and I'm as picky as it gets when it comes to diet and eating. And I was his guinea pig. He was sent it over. A young man can't cook, so I would recommend you give him a shot and give him a try.
We'll do that, and what we ought to do is do a show there. So let's talk about doing that.
Sounds like a plan.
Last segment coming up in just 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Hey, we gotta shut down. Oh yeah, we need to do a show.